welcome. Greetings and salutations.
Yeah, welcome everybody.
So tonight you have. Hold on, let me mute some stuff real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, that's better. Um, you got me and DMAT tonight. I'm Louis. That's DMAT. We are doing a little bit of an underground episode, a little DWM underground, a little bonus episode. DMAT and I were wandering the woods this morning,
Yeah.
and we got to talking about some stuff, and he blew my mind as usual. He went down a deep rodent hole, rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it.
Don't go down it, but we're gonna go down
Uh, yeah, we're gonna go down it for you. So buckle up because we've got some interesting stuff, I think, and it should be fun.
it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But what we got kind of what brought us into the topic we're gonna talk about today was all the stuff going on with Ukraine and Russia and NATO forces and everything. Um, and that all kind of blew my mind because of what we kind of watched on the way home from where we were at, and just the world's kind of going a bunch of different ways. It's got like you got stuff going on, military wise. You got stuff going on, government control on the people, and you got economic things that are taking place, and everything's kind of like changing and is in a huge tornado in my opinion, and it's kind of it's gonna go in some way. We just don't know 100% uh, exactly. But what we talked about and what we'll talk about tonight is the Great Reset and what that is, who's involved, um, and what the agendas are for these big elite groups that are real, like they're real things. This Great Reset, I know is kind of been making its way through social media as something that's kind of just bullshit, but it's really not bullshit. It's a real thing. I mean, you can try and look for things on Google, but you'll probably be censored to what Google wants you to see. But we'll just kind of dive into it. And the Great Reset, it's a term that was created by a guy who is his name's Klaus Schwab, and he's the head chairman for the World Economic Forum. And I don't know how long he's been it. I think from sometime in the 90s or something like that. But he has these videos. You kind of watch him in these one-on-one, videos that he'll release about certain things that are taking place, certain meetings going on, and kind of like collusions between corporate stakeholders, which is a huge thing that he um, talks about as this great reset. That it's going to be some sort of like stakeholder, corporate, and state entities that kind of come together, which that's what I know as like fascism. So like we're gonna see a lot of tyranny if we're talking about like that happening in the future. And he has a book where he talks about COVID-19. That it's called COVID-19: The Great Reset, and that he talks about COVID and what it did to the world and how it kind of shell shocked the world and it destabilized a lot of different um, parts of infrastructure. And to me, it just kind of seems like you have all these rich people who I don't know if they're up to no good, but I don't think they're up to any good. And they're kind of coming together to where I think the world's in a vulnerable state to where they can establish an order. That's their agenda, and it's not like what some private sectors may want, per se. And I don't know, like what would be like a private sector? Like, would that be another like third world country or something that wants to stay sovereign and wants nothing to do with anyone else or anything like that?
I mean, those would be nationalist entities or state entities. Private sector would be more just the corporations and stuff.
Yeah,
So
and I think that with this Great Reset, because he talks, first of all, the Great Reset is again is what Klaus Schwab came up with, but there's this group that is they call themselves the Davos Group, which is you have all these different corporate powers and everything, and global leaders that are a part of this. China, Fauci, you have all these people that are part of this Davos Group. Which is funny I say those names because Klaus Schwab had a he had a some they were doing some conference or something, and Klaus Schwab is talking about what they're getting ready to discuss, and he introduces Xi Jinping, and he before he introduced Xi Jinping. By the way, he's the leader for the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, and he basically in his introduction he's stating that he's he's someone that looks up to Xi Jinping, and that he echoes most of what he preaches as a leader and everything like that. And that kind of makes me nervous, like, right? Like,
that's,
what the
that's
fuck?
scary.
Yeah. And the person that follows behind Xi Jinping when he talks is Fauci, and which is like, what the fuck? Like, that's the guy that represents America, at least on the medical part of things.
Right. Well, didn't
And
you say earlier that sorry to interrupt,
no, you're good.
that
You're good.
Schwab has a leadership course or like a leadership school, right? For
Yes,
elites.
yes. For the
And
global leaders of tomorrow, like that's like what it's kind of its its slogan is or whatever. I'll
so
try and pull
so
it up.
he's doing his own little
Yeah.
propagandizing and brainwashing and just like the colleges do, I guess.
Oh, and when you see the people that are attending this, first of all, you can't like just go to this school. You have to apply and get it and try and get in with whatever background or connection you have. Um, and that's how you get into the school. But when you see the people that are involved, you can see that they're running off the same playbook, and that's like what you said earlier to me today. It's like you see that they're running off the same playbook. They're all kind of even saying the same thing. Like I think I watched one video where all these people were saying like build back better or build back better, and one of the guys for Australia even slipped up and said new world order when he was supposed to say new world COVID at one point. And he was this is when he was like talking to all the civilians when it was like, I think it was like the Delta outbreak or something like that. But an example is
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. I mean, what I meant to say was.
yeah, right. So Gavin Newsom is one that has attended the school. And it's the school was established in '92, and it's called the Global Leaders for Tomorrow School. I'm sorry, the school was established in 2004, and the attendees must apply for admission, and it's you're subjected to a rigorous selection process. It says, very interesting. So we
Okay.
have we have the
Did
medical.
did
What's up?
did they have a list of attendees, like a who's who in the zoo, or no?
So we have um, Bill Gates, the Amazon, what's his name?
Bezos,
Bezos, Macron, who is the France leader, Justin
Prime Minister of
Trudeau,
France, or President, something.
yeah, Gavin Newsom, Boris for the UK, the Australian head of their health organization, kind of like the Fauci for America, but this is the lady for Australia. I actually watched an interview of her like a week ago or something. She was talking about like suicide rates, and she was kind of like laughing, and I was like, "What the fuck? Fucking crazy, dude." I don't know. Some of these people and their policy making is kind of insane. At least we're seeing kind of what the playbook is supposed to look like with, I mean, when we see all these leaders and we see, oh yeah, they're all, you know, kind of practicing the same agenda, it makes me think, you
Yeah,
know,
if they're all doing the same thing, saying the same thing, they're getting it from somewhere.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
likely it's the school up for leadership that they went to. And tying in the fact that you said that Schwab like admires Xi Jinping, that's a big deal.
Oh,
Like,
like, and he's open
like
about it. I mean, this is all,
yeah. So
this is,
like, where do you think the playbook came from then? He's probably just been writing down. It's like, oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna use that later.
no, no doubt, man. It's crazy, dude. Um, all
Just-
right. So when I was talking about the Davos Group, we'll just kind of tap into that real quick, give you a little understanding of what that is. It's kind of broken down into three different. This is basically the agenda or the overall scope of it, and it
okay.
talks about
Hold
the
on one second
yeah.
before you get deep into it.
Oh,
Let
you're
me go.
good.
I
You're
gotta
good.
go. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Give me 1 minute.
Little 2 minute break. Little give everyone a little relaxed point, before we dig into this super interesting stuff. Hope everyone's having a good night, good day, good afternoon, wherever you are, whatever time, wherever you are around the globe. Hope everyone's doing well. But yeah, we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this some of this Davos stuff. Uh, Kind of break it down, and show the. I guess this. I don't know really what to call it. I guess this is the agenda that they kind of have. This is the scope of things that they see to come in the future. It's crazy. There's different things. There's things like Agenda 21. There's things that the United Nations, that have.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I was just kind of like just telling everybody, talking about, like Agenda 21, the United Nations. There's all different kinds of agendas that are going on
Cool.
around the world. But what I see that's super significant about this is that this is like all about global stuff, and I don't think a lot of people are gonna be like, I don't think they, uh, everyone's gonna be in on this kind of stuff 100%, because
Like all the leaders, you
yeah,
mean,
like
or
all the leaders and everything like that. But this goes back to, like, if there is some real shit, Illuminati, or putting certain people in certain places, where they have power, and if you are navigating, things happening around the world, um this is kind of like a big conspiracy to where, we're seeing at least an avenue where the globe wants to come together into some new world order. And like, I remember that word, at least the first time I heard it was when Bush talked about it in his speech to America, or whatever it is. He addressed the nation. That one, this was in like 91 or something like that. But he talked about the new world order. And now that we actually see that there's groups and like super like
influential?
influential, and like there's a lot of money behind this. These people have a lot of money. A lot of money. Um, but back to the Davos Group stuff. So it says the first alliance to accelerate digital inclusion, and this is something that Klaus Schwab like talks about, this term digital inclusion. And it says COVID-19 has exposed digital inequities globally and exacerbated the digital divide. 37% of the world does not use the internet, with more basic services moving online, and the pandemic highlighting affordable challenges in wealthier nations, these deep digital gaps and intensifying inequity and preventing the achievement of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So, what I get from this is that they want to connect everything together. Like they want to. This is like the term that I heard someone say, the Internet of Things, which is actually a real term. Like they want to connect
Right.
everything that has the possible of being connected to the World Wide Web, in my opinion.
Right. And there is almost over a
Yeah.
third of the world that they don't have ability to
Well, look,
control.
they even know the percentage. 37% of the world they know do not use the internet. And this is like something that is out of their reach, and that's something that they don't
It is
want to
unacceptable.
be there anymore. Yeah, it's
Unacceptable.
unacceptable. And the second thing it says is boosting the capital for development. Here's how to advance sustainable foreign direct investments. This just talks about like 2030 agenda for sustainable development. This is to me where it talks about, growing in technologies, reducing emissions, and just trying to like be overall um, beneficial to the planet and everything like that. Which I don't know. I mean, I know global warming is a real thing, but at the same time, I'm not. I just don't know. But so no one criticized me, but I just don't know if it's exactly as bad as they say it to be. Because there's a
So,
bunch of different things that science says, and
right.
I agree with what science says, but it's being used as it's being weaponized to me to where I think people are trying to move agendas and try to get things done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. I mean, that's just how it works. You pick and choose what you want to use. Um, my personal opinion on global warming is that like the Earth goes through cycles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so how much of it is man-made, how much of it is natural cycle?
Right.
I'm sure the data is out there. Anyone who's ever argued with me about global warming has not given me, has no one has ever given me any like actual good science, right, to show me.
Mm-hmm.
I read some books and stuff. I know there's the acidification of the oceans and like what's causing it, and like I understand. I see both sides. Uh, my biggest thing has always been like how much of it is actually us
Mm-hmm.
that's doing it versus like natural causes that are out there, you know, making the earth heat up.
Right. Right.
Um, and like I'm all for making things more
Yeah.
like we don't need to be putting a bunch of exhaust and smoke into the air, right?
That's true. That's
Um,
true.
but like it all goes back to how fast can you move the society in one direction or the other? You know what I mean? If
Right.
you're going to, you want everyone to have electric vehicles, you need to make electric vehicles very inexpensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Until you can have a used electric vehicle for $15,000 that someone can afford.
Right.
Like, otherwise, a brand new car right now is going to cost you 60 grand. A cheap one will cost you 30, and you're still looking at, paying 7 years to get
Right.
a 300, 350 a month payment. Like,
And what I hate about myself is like I'll look at the good in that stuff. Like I'll look at like, oh yes, like reducing emissions, perfect. You know, trying to get to net zero carbon. All right, cool, man. Like it's gonna help plant life. It's gonna help a bunch of things. It's gonna give us more, you know, certain gases that we need to survive. In our atmosphere. But there's a piece of me that goes, but what's the real reason?
oh no, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Because even if you look at electric vehicles, like getting the raw materials to create those electric vehicles is horrible for the earth. Do you know what they
Oh
have to
yeah.
mine, like all the mining they have to do to get those raw materials for all those batteries?
Oh dude, yeah.
Like we are destroying the earth in the attempt to save the earth.
Yeah, yeah. We're no, exactly,
Like
exactly.
the lithium mines and the copper mines and like that
Yeah,
stuff poisons the earth when we bring it out.
right. And I'm
Like
always, because like I've been starting to develop, a young prepper mind. But as I think of things that, you know, if the if the Davos, agenda, wants to, you know, develop and bring up sustainability and to connect things globally, through, internet access, which is really the only way. We're all kind of connected now, but to have like some sort of actual structure and a system for it, it kind of makes me think like, for example, like with these electric vehicles, where's the kill switch? Like who actually has control over, you know, what is mine? Or is it going to be mine in the future? Because I know another big thing about the Great Reset is that he says that, you'll own nothing but be happy in a way, to
mhm.
where you'll kind of like end up accepting being a product or some sort of consumer that we just kind of feed off, like where it's kind of like when you go to your parents' house or something, like, like the fridge is stocked, you know that the bathroom's clean, like everything's kind of like already livable for you very easily. And a lot of people are gonna accept that kind of stuff. They're gonna enjoy the little tiny pieces of control, that higher entities have over them. But that's like just the kind of things that I think about. I always think of like the alternative, like what is the I guess the evil stuff behind it. I don't know. Like the reducing of the emissions. All this stuff is all good stuff, but I feel the things that are going to be introduced and become normalized, like let's just say electric vehicles, like how I said earlier, like the kill switch. Like what if they put that in an infrastructure bill to where that becomes a possibility, to where, which that was in the one of the infrastructure
I was gonna
bills.
say like you're saying like what if they did it? You
They
told
did
me about this.
it. Yeah.
You said you read this bill for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or no,
And
the patent. You read the
yeah,
patent.
yeah, the patent, yeah. But the bill include, there's a bill in legislation right now to where they're including a kill switch for electric vehicles, and then they have in there that it's basically based off of like DUIs and everything. But what if that comes to a point to where, in order to turn on your vehicle, you need to blow into a freaking thing to see if,
I
you're okay
think
to drive,
more.
just shit like
I,
that, you know.
I think more that they're trying to move to a similar system that China has, the
Oh,
CCP, Xi
absolutely.
Jinping, where they have a social credit score, right?
Absolutely.
And so, like, if you don't fit the narrative, if you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing, like,
Mm-hmm.
they just shut your stuff off. Like, what if, like, already our cell phones don't belong to us? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
Like, you
right.
buy a cell phone, you're essentially renting it for 2 years until you get it paid off, right? And then most people just go ahead and trade up for the next one and still have to pay that one off. Um, so our means of communication isn't controlled by us.
Right.
Our same with internet and like all our stuff. If they have a kill switch to our vehicles, they can just be like, "Nah, don't turn his car on." You know,
No, for I know, and that's
and it'll be the same with the Internet of Things, like all the things. Like they'll be all
yeah.
right,
And he
fuck
talks
you, we're gonna turn your fridge off.
he talks about it's crazy because this was like I think 5 years ago he was talking about this. This Schwab guy was talking about this, that he wants to interconnect people, through the mind, like and this makes me think of like, okay, Elon Musk, which is working on a Neuralink platform, and he's actually they're actually starting to test it in humans this year. They started doing that before they were testing it in other animals. But it kind of like makes me think: is AI gonna be the 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 thing that prospers mankind, or is it gonna be the thing that destroys it, you know? Like we don't know the effects of these things.
We don't. I think it would all depend on how benevolent the AI is.
Right.
Are we
And
gonna have a Skynet that like builds that
well,
decides,
well
or like in the Matrix that decides we're a virus and tries to
I,
destroy
I,
us?
I, I have to think so because I mean I've even heard like Elon Musk talk about it. He's like AI. It's 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 an opening for the demons. And he's like, "What the?" You're like, "What the fuck are you talking about, bro?" Like,
I would believe everything he says. That
you
man is a
know,
genius. He
yeah,
sees things we don't see.
and then his girlfriend or whatever that he has now, like she'll take a video and release it on social media, and she talks about how AI is the arrowhead basically of communism. Like it's going to bring in no matter what, like communism. And it's like you have these.
I could see it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it's going to be propagated
That I
through
mean,
peace and
that's
safety and everything like that.
that's one of the things that as a society I'm positive that we don't always think this way. I've had I've been lucky enough to
Hmm.
learn how to think this way is the second and third order effects of everything, right?
Yeah.
Just basic decision makings. If we do this, if this happens, what effects is that going to have on other things, right?
Right.
It's not just I'm I'm building a well here, or I'm making a law that says you can't do this anymore, right?
Right.
Like, what is that? What else does that change? Like, who else does that affect down the line? Like, now, all
Hmm.
right, we can't do this. So now these guys over here are out of a job, which means this guy can't run his business, which means this guy over here who had a catering business now has nobody to sell his lunch, his roach coach food to, like
Yeah.
there's all sorts of stuff down, and so like all of these things like that kill switch that's supposed to be for DUIs,
Right.
a well-meaning thing that is unnecessary in my opinion.
Right.
Um, but like they add that in there, and now it's in all new electric vehicles, right?
Right. It would be in the
Well,
in chi- encrypted in the microchip, that they have in the vehicle.
right. So now it's in all the new electric vehicles.
Yep.
And as people keep getting new vehicles, it's not just in the electric vehicles. They're like, this was a good idea. Let's put it in all the vehicles since all the vehicles have an ECU and or ECM,
Yeah.
that we can control electronically because most vehicles have Wi-Fi in them now,
Right.
right?
Right.
So now all the new vehicles. So now we want to control everyone. So now they're going to make a law, another one that says that if you want to drive a vehicle, it has to be made after this date, and
Yeah.
we're gonna have all these incentives that say remember when Obama had his cash for clunkers thing, and now
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you can't even find old vehicles after
No.
like older than like
No.
1990, 95 is like the oldest, right? And
Right.
that's a
Right.
long time ago, but that's like people that have like trucks and stuff, right? You can
Hmm.
find like older trucks,
Right.
but cars, it's hard to find a car
I know.
that's like older than 2000.
I think it's we're kind of like talking about like transportation, and I keep like thinking about, is everything going to be, if it is the future going to be that, like, because I personally just feel like, especially with the past few years, that we're in a process where we're kind of like being farmed, and I got to explain that a little better. But
I
we're
don't
the
know where you're going, but I agree.
we're the animals, and the farmer is the man. It's these groups that really run this world or whatever, but they don't have complete control of their cattle, their animals or whatever. And now what we see in the world, especially through the growth of through technology, is that we see these entities and these groups. They're starting to grab now. They're starting to actually like make some sort of system that is going to control the cattle, the goats, the animals, whatever it is, according to their own liking. But the animals like to be free. They enjoy their sovereignty. Like, you know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
I think that's where a lot of people are starting to kind of wake up a little bit, which you can see all over the world. You see all these kind of like mini revolutions taking place in, you know, hundreds of countries. And
The trucker thing in Canada
oh,
is like
that's insane, man. That's a huge
that's
one right now.
exciting. It's
It's
exciting,
exciting. I mean, good for them, dude. I mean, it's crazy over there. It really is. It's tough.
and
It's a different
it's the
world.
truth. The truckers have the power, man. That's I've said it. I've been telling people for years. If those trucks stop rolling,
Yeah,
like
I know.
it's
Yeah,
chaos.
it's chaos, dude. It's
It's
everything's gonna
chaos.
start kind of crumbling.
I mean,
But
we've
maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Maybe there's supposed to be so much chaos that like some sort of order has to kind of be established, enforced. Maybe it could be forced. Maybe there's just so much chaos that like governments just
they step in. They
they
say that's enough,
step in and
and
say, yeah, this is no more. Like we're doing it this way. And that could result in war, like all over, like everywhere is
yeah.
warfare. You know. Um, Another person
So
out. Yeah, go ahead.
we were.
Go
I don't
ahead.
know if this is where
No,
you're
you're good.
going,
No, you're good. Go
but
ahead.
in similar to the farming thing earlier, we talked about the that chip
Yeah.
that Bill Gates has a patent on. You were telling me you read
Yes.
that patent for
So
like 45 minutes,
you read my
and
mind.
that
You read my
okay.
mind. So this is why I think we're being farmed because if I was a farmer, I would end up marking or putting some sort of like identification on my animals, letting me know a birth date, something to let me know, hey, that's Johnny or that's, llama 1, llama 2,
Mhm.
whatever. Um and Bill
Llama.
I want it's funny, yeah, um but Bill Gates in 2019, towards the end of 2019, we'll just Bill Gates is the name that's being out there right now. But the patent was created by Microsoft, and we all know who created Microsoft, and it's directly related to Bill Gates, who is a global, entrepreneur. He's just going around. He has this huge foundation that has billions and billions of dollars, and he's just got his hand in everything. But the patent that he created or that Microsoft patented, it's called WO20-060606. The number kind of funny. It's ironic. I'll kind of connect a little something later to that too. Um, but in this patent, it talks about how it is a cryptocurrency system, that is dictated based off of human activity data, and the way it it picks up human activity data is through a censored system. It's not really descriptive of what the sensor is, but it does talk about how it uh, uh, ends up sensing body activity data and starts to process that data into a cryptocurrency mining, um, process. And what's interesting is that because it says that a task will be provided, and in a way, it's like it's like a to me, it's like a social credit score to where you have to, there's certain tasks, right, that you're like, let's just say China, like the people in China, like are evaluated every year based off their social credit score, and it's based off of things that you do throughout your social activity, running through red lights, speeding, doing, certain things that you're not supposed to be doing. They have, their intersections literally have facial recognition softwares that track, if you're in certain places where you're
At
not
a certain
supposed to
time.
be at certain times.
So one of the way you just described the way that thing's supposed to work to me by you're provided a task and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
That immediately brought to mind behavior modification.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
those are the words that spoke to me when you described you're provided with a task, and if you accomplish that task, then you get crypto for it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So say they give you whatever task, whatever behavior they're trying to get you to do, whether it's if you wake up every morning and do an exercise, you'll get, you know,
Right.
you know, 4 rubles or whatever we're talking ripples,
Right. Right. Yeah. It could
or
be.
a point 0.01 ripple or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you do X amount of miles per day, you get another however many ripples. If you and once that's normalized, it becomes if you go to the doctor and see like all these things, right? They start
Yeah.
with
Right.
things that are probably beneficial to you.
Right. Right.
You know what I
To
mean?
get you conditioned
Um,
to,
right. And then it
normalizing it.
change right, and then it changes to uh because it will become the Internet of Things. All electronics, anything with an RF signal talks to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anything that's connected to the web can talk to each other. Our phones ping off of all the routers. You're driving down the street, you're pinging off routers as you go. That's how Google knows where you are. Even if you're not sharing your settings, Google knows where you are because you're pinging off of routers,
Right.
right?
Right.
You're not connected to their Wi-Fi, but they're talking to each other anyway. So you have your phone with you. Your body sensor tells now tells Microsoft that you're at a liquor store, right? Now you're not getting paid for any of your activities for the day because you went to a liquor store,
Yeah. It's
or you went
crazy.
to a bar, or you went to a titty bar, or you're in some zone that you aren't supposed to be at. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. What if
That's where my
no,
my
that's
head is going. Like it
it's
starts
good.
with
I mean,
good
it's
things, and then it changes to now if you
right.
want to get paid. And
Right.
and most people when once they have an income coming in, we're not disciplined enough to let that be extra income, right?
Right.
It becomes part of the income.
Right.
So like that would be a big deal to people that if they're making X amount of money doing all these cool things, all of a sudden they're not getting paid because they went to a liquor store, they're probably gonna stop going to the liquor store,
Right. Right.
you know? Or they're
It
gonna stop doing the things that keep them from getting paid.
right. It makes me I don't know really. I mean, there's a bunch of different theories, right? Like we can make of this. Um, when we're talking about human activity data, with a task provided, it's like, what if well, it's got to be connected to government, right? It's got to be connected to something like that. Some
Not
sort of
necessarily.
no, right?
So, well, I feel like Facebook already does something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Facebook, if you have the app on your phone or whenever you log in and stuff, it's collecting data on
Mm-hmm.
you. If you're using Facebook with certain browsers, like those browsers share information. So even if you don't have Facebook
Yeah.
open, as soon as you open Facebook, it's talking to the browser and all the places you've been,
Yeah.
it lines up with Facebook, right? That's why you're always getting the ads all the time.
Right. What I
Your
what
phone's your phone and stuff is listening to you. Like all these
Oh,
what I'm saying
absolutely.
is so that kind of human activity
Yeah.
data
It's
is
already
already
happening right now. It's already
but
it kind
I
of
feel
like
like this is Microsoft's way of collecting very similar
right.
information without necessarily even having to use your phone.
What I found interesting with this is that when I started digging a little bit more and everything, and I started finding, it's because when you're doing conspiracies and stuff, you're kind of just trailing, you know, you're trailing a trail where you're starting to connect different groups, different people, and then you kind of line them up, and they all stand in front of you, and it's like logically makes sense. Like, okay, these people are all in on it. And one thing that I found interesting is Bill Gates found a company in Denmark, and they're called BEZH International, and they're a biometrics company that develops sensor systems. They're the ones actually that are because well, if you don't know, listeners, Switzerland is the first country to actually have a system for microchipping people. Like there's even certain jobs that require it for their corporations or businesses that that's how they get in. That's how they scan to actually get food. It was actually on the news, bro. It was on the news. And it was insane. It
Yeah.
wasn't on our news, obviously.
No. Well, not
It
yet,
was
but
on their news.
the moment they want to try and do it to us, they'll be like,
Right.
"Oh, Switzerland's been doing it for
Yeah.
years.
Right.
It's totally okay. The Swiss are, yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
great.
And
Nothing to worry about."
and I was just like, what the fuck? And what's over there? What's a big thing over there is XRP and Ripple and everything. And there's a company that was made through BEZH, which is called BuyChip. You can go on Facebook right now, type in BuyChip, and look at their, what they're hoping to come to the future for BuyChip. And it's BuyChip is basically its own cryptocurrency. Ripple is its own cryptocurrency. XRP, we see that they're in a huge conflict with the SEC, and they're kind of like going through, lawsuits and everything like that. Now, I watch guys, on TikTok, that are they're cryptocurrency guys, they're influencers in that area, and they talk big about XRP. They talk about XRP one day taking the top of the cryptocurrency market. And we all know, like, whatever is on top of the cryptocurrency market is what runs basically the market. The other coins are pretty much just altcoins, and they kind of, they're more of a risk than like the stronger coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum and certain projects like that. But if I if it's possible that XRP can be the number one day, all of this makes sense because it's all connected
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
So it's patented. So it's not fundamentally like here. Well, it's fundamentally existing, but it's not
it
the
hasn't
the
been
tools
implemented.
haven't been aren't introduced to the public. Like, this is a sensitive thing too. Like, a lot of people, they don't like that their Apple Watch, has their location, or whatever, this kind of shit. It's going to be a different.
It's still being normalized. Like
Yeah,
cell phones are normalized. Like
they are.
everyone
Yes.
has their cell phone on them at
Right.
all times, right? Because we've even got rid of landlines. Uh, like wearable devices are, I think, still they're becoming more normalized, but they're not there yet for a lot of people.
Right. Right.
A lot of people, it still makes them uncomfortable. There's a lot like I've got like four Alexas in my house. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my house is automated. I tell her to do all sorts of shit. Um, and like she's listening to me constantly. You know
All
what I mean?
right. Yeah.
And the only reason I'm comfortable with that is because I already know that my watch is listening to me, my Mac computer is listening to me, like my phone is constantly listening to me. Like I know I'm being listened to already. Otherwise, I wouldn't have an Alexa in my house.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
know what
some.
I
I
mean? That's
mean, it's some, and that's how something gets easily. That's just how something naturally gets normalized to where you're like,
yeah,
fuck it. It's a daily thing, and it's what can I do? Like, it's part of life. That
yeah. It's
that's
like if
growing
you want,
around us.
and that's what they're making it so if you want to function in this world,
Hmm.
you have to play ball. If you want to use the phone, you have to do their service agreement or whatever. You know what I mean? If you want to use an app on the phone,
Yeah.
you have to agree to 17 pages of bullshit that no one ever reads, right?
Right.
So you're just giving them access to everything on your phone,
It's
you know?
yeah, yeah, man. I think we're gonna just, as we keep moving forward, as I don't think the governments can lose the power that they've taken, um, you know, that they've obtained from the past few
Uh,
years, and I don't think there is any moving backwards. I think it's just going to be like a progressive, slow movement forward, and like you see things like ID 2020, you see this cryptocurrency patent here, you
Remind
see.
me what ID 2020 is.
So ID 2020 is an alliance between the Rockefeller Foundation, Bill Gates, um, and it's where they want to basically have a global passport ID for everyone to have, which kind of like ties in that I do think that this system that is to come in the future, it's going to be all one system that everything's connected to. Everything that's like, if we were to break down, society, like everything that is like has big groups in a way, like the medical system is going to be a part of it,
Mhm.
the financial system is going to be a part of it, government system is going to be a part of it. There could be like, some sort of constitutional system that would be a part of it, just something like that, you know um I don't know what to I don't want to think of the bad stuff about it, but it just keeps reminding me of like this, like revelation type stuff, like where John talks about how he's the author for Revelation, in the Bible, and he talks about that there's this beast that kind of, comes out of the sea, and it's it's described, when you relate it to the other biblical references and everything like that, as in basically a system, like an empire. It's its own government entity, and this is where the Antichrist is involved and everything like that. But I think the system's going to be like everything I mentioned, plus, like the climate stuff, and all these things that you see that are like progressive movements, you know, that are out of our control. Like that has nothing to do with anything Senate wise or like anything like democratic, right? Like we can't do anything about that. That's just something that the world's just going to go to no matter what, right?
You probably, because it's one of those things that like the government is involved in so many things that they have no
Yeah.
business being involved in anymore because we have given them the power to do that.
Yeah.
We as a people, we've said we don't want to worry about this. You fix this for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
Right.
so like they have all this power and they move, uh, and they do things. And once something becomes law, like they rarely do they get rid of laws. They just add more laws, right?
Right. Right.
Like even if there's already laws about stuff, they just make another law to make that law, either
Right.
inferior or just make it even a harder law. You know,
Right.
but they're never like, oh, this one's stupid. Let's get rid of it.
Do you think there would ever be like some sort of system in the future that deals with a carbon tax, to where like, like just going back to the when I read that term body activity data, I'm referencing back to the patent, that, the way I see this COP, the climate change summit and everything, they're talking all about carbon, carbon, carbon. Like we're carbon producing life forms. Like we produce carbon. We emit carbon. Like
Right.
there is data that they use that shows that, like there is humans that cause, rise in CO2 levels and everything like that. And then there's weather patterns that do it, and then there's geographical areas that produce it more than others, like volcanoes and stuff like that, or whatever. Do you think that one day we'll be held accountable for the amount of carbon that we kind of produce? Is this something that, like, maybe if we are talking about a new financial system, if we're talking about that we now have an income that's based off of human activity data, that what would the tax be? Would the tax be what we produce from doing that activity data? Would that be the tax? I don't know. I'm just kind of like theorizing right now. I'm kind of just
No, I like where this is going. I don't like where this is going, but I like where your thought process is at. Because that that makes sense
yeah,
that if you are generating an income that they will want to tax it.
they will want to tax it, right?
And if they have a way of measuring via sensor
Mm-hmm.
how much carbon you are producing via your activity,
Right.
um, whether you're in your vehicle or doing this and that,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Right.
then
You
I don't,
drove this many miles this year, and
right, or you farted 1,000 times
yeah,
and
or your heart rate went to this level, and this is how much you were breathing. Whatever. It could be anything like that. If we're talking about a
exactly.
sensor, we're not. We're
Yeah,
It's not 100%
exactly.
descriptive what it is, but
Um, and so like you've produced X amount of carbon, you've contributed whatever. Um,
right,
yeah, I
right,
don't see why they
right.
wouldn't.
I
Like
know. You know what else is crazy about this
that
too?
sucks.
When
You're making me mad
that's
now.
right. Um, and one thing that's crazy too is that when I was looking up, because I was like, man, I'm huge into the climate stuff, and I was listening to the summit conference not too long ago. I think it was like a month ago or a month and a half ago or whatever. And Prince Charles was talking, which he said a lot of interesting things. If you haven't gone and watched it yet, go ahead, watch it. Also, Obama talks for an hour. I watched that too. That was very interesting as well. But Prince Charles, I don't know. He references something, and
You
it's
sent that link to us, didn't you?
yeah, it's quite fascinating because when he's talking about bringing the globe together to fight this climate crisis, he talks about a private sector, and that the private sector has a hard time merging with what the rest of the world wants to try and do, and that it also costs money because a lot of countries are in debt, and they're suffering, and they can't get out of their debt, and he talks about that there's a person. He references a man. He says and he references that this person has more money than the global GDP, which is like all of the money in the world banks and central banks, and everywhere in the world, all the money that's running through the economic system, because we all trade with all different kinds of countries. Like this thing has more money than that, and it will help run the world in parallel. I guess he kind of talks about it.
Is
But
it the one above
this
the
is
table?
this is yeah, this could be the top of the pyramid. I don't know. I don't That's what I'm saying. I don't know. But but another thing is that carbon, when you break down the element, it has a interesting numerical behind it, and it's got an atomic number of 6, which that means, I think that's the highest amount of protons, right, that you have.
Yeah.
I believe so. Um, but when you break down the element has 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. And so you get that number 666. But it made me think of the patent, that it's kind of separated where it says 060606, and it made me think like, okay, is this telling me what the sensor is picking up, and it's breaking down its segments or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I don't
Yeah.
know. That's just something that I also found. I was like, what the fuck, that's
Well,
interesting. I don't know.
patent numbers patent numbers are usually aren't generated, like you don't get to pick what your patent number is.
Right. I don't know.
So
I
I
just
mean, I don't think you do. Maybe I've never patented anything. So,
I know
but
that the year
like
is on there.
those numbers are like freaky.
They're freaky, dude. They are.
Because
They are.
after you spoke about revelations and that a system will appear, right?
Right. Right.
This is a system. Like A
This
social credit
is
score is a system, and the mark of the beast is supposed to be 666.
right,
What
right.
if this patent, this device that is patented with the patent number 060606,
It only kind of makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and it having to do with carbon, which is also 666.
right, I know.
I mean, that's I I'm no numerologist, but like
Yeah.
like uh, it's it's freaky, and like I
It's
don't even like I love reading about the Bible. Like I don't buy into
mm-hmm.
a whole lot of it at like necessarily on the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
uh aspect. Um Morally I think it's great. Like it teaches a lot of great lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I think I enjoy it historically, like how it matches up
Right,
with different
right.
historical events and how it matches up with other things from other cultures, uh, like historical events
Absolutely.
and beings and things. Like I like it historically,
Right,
um,
right.
and but it's hard to ignore some
Some of
of that,
the yeah,
like
the
the biblical lore, and then something like that that just pops up right in your face. It's like, all right,
yeah.
well, I guess
Right,
this is
no.
it.
I know.
Like
Is this like fuck? Great.
we are there
Yeah,
if we're there.
shit. Oh man. It's we'll see, I guess. I mean I can only guess that, you know, we're going to see more clear as things move forward, right? I mean, I think we're going to kind of I think things are going to start to be more clear. I think they're going to pop out. We're going to like probably recognize some things, be like, "Hey, I can see it going this way, right? Can't you see
Yeah.
it? You can
Well,
see
I
it
mean
going that
that.
way, right?"
Yeah, and that goes back to the prepper mindset that we've been, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that
Which
we've
I
been working
love.
on, and it's that like we said earlier, it's no one wants to be the guy that jumps the gun.
Yeah. It,
No one wants to be the asshole that grabs all the shit and leaves, and
right.
then like a month later has to come back.
Has to come back
Because
because he ran out of
I
all
was
of his
wrong.
shit.
I was wrong. But then like you also don't want to be the guy that is the naysayer. That's no, it's that's not it. That's not it.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
like there's all these signs that you gotta pay attention to. It's like that. There's this old. I don't think it's really a joke. Um, but there was is I guess a parable kind of is what you could say
Mm-hmm.
that when I was a kid, I remember I was young, maybe 9 or 10. I remember it from back then. It was there was a flood in this town, and uh, this guy has to escape up to his roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
The flood waters are coming, so he goes up to the second floor, and somebody comes by in a um, in like a bus. A bus is making it through the water and stuff, and the bus driver stops at front of his house and says, "Hey, we're getting out of here. You want to ride?" And the guy's like, "No, God will save me. Don't worry about it." Um, and so the bus driver takes off, and the guy goes up, and he's up on the second floor now,
Mm-hmm.
and he's looking out the window, and a guy in a boat, a little canoe comes by, and it's putting along. Bees, little canoe, right? Bees. It's Stovey. Stovey comes by,
Yeah.
says, "Hey, we're getting out of here. You want to ride?" And the guy's like, "Nah, don't worry about it. I will be okay. God's gonna save me." And so, guy in the canoe takes off. Beep. But the floodwaters keep rising,
They keep rising. Yeah.
and yeah, and
That's funny.
so the guy's up on his roof now, and he's getting kind of scared now. He's like, I don't understand. God's supposed to save me. All of a sudden, helicopter comes by, uh, and guy in the helicopter is like, "Hey, come on, I'm gonna save you. We're here." And the guy's like, "No, God will protect me. You know, I'm gonna be okay." Helicopter rescue guy's like, All right, fucking I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
So he leaves. Guy drowns. Guy's up in heaven, and he says, he meets God, and he's like, God, what happened? I thought you were gonna protect me.
Yeah.
You know? And God's like, look, dude, I sent you a bus, a boat, and a helicopter. What more do you want?
Right, right. That's a good one. That's a fucking good one.
So, like that just all this just reminds me like you're if you're seeing signs and it's making you think of stuff, it's like, all right, you got to be getting ready. You know,
Right.
you might not always
Right.
know. It's never going to be this is it. This is time. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let's save
Yeah.
ourselves. You
Yeah.
know, it's usually hindsight that that was when I
Right.
was supposed to leave. I was
Right.
supposed to leave then, but I can still leave now because I'm ready.
Right. Right.
You know,
It's like what if the system has already been here for years? Like what if the system right now?
it has. I just think they're putting the final pieces. They're
Yeah.
finally getting
Yeah.
the technology to where it needs to be to actually
Yeah, right, right. Because
plug it all
everyone
in.
kind of lives off of a system, like they get their food somewhere, they get their water from somewhere, you know,
Hmm.
they have their job, they have an income. Like we all kind of live our life on a day-to-day system, and like
Just yeah, like we are
we are.
totally dependent on the system.
It's almost
Think
like we
about it.
are like programmed. Like it's very simple. Like we're not
Well,
actually programmed. We are a free will being, but like we are used to doing something that
is
people
very unnatural.
yeah, it's yeah, you know.
Well, just think about how we live versus even like 40s and 50s, right?
Oh,
Like after during World War II, after World War II, Great Depression, people used to hunt for their food. They used to grow their own
yep,
food and stuff, right?
yep,
Once like late 50s, 60s came along, like grocery stores and processed foods were the thing, you know?
yeah,
For a long time, people didn't even really cook their own food because there was a lot of processed foods, you know?
right,
Think about a lot of our young people, they go and live on their own. They're eating out.
yep,
And so
yep,
so we are at a place now as a society, what do we produce? How many of us actually produce something?
mm-hmm.
Like we work, right? We're essentially in the customer service business. Like we're
Yeah,
healthcare, right? But we're in the customer service business. Like we don't produce anything. We're a giant insurance policy,
right.
is what we are.
No, no doubt, exactly.
Um, like how many people actually produce something anymore? Like of the percentage of our society. Like there's a lot of people out there making things, right?
Right,
But like even of those things that are being produced, how much of it's necessary?
right.
You know? Like how many farmers do we have? How many people do we have raising livestock? And how many people are even
Right.
doing that for themselves?
It's not a lot.
You know?
I don't think it's a
You know,
lot.
it's really not that hard to have your own garden and
Right,
like have some chickens or something. But
right.
even as a society, the rules that we've made in cities and stuff, like you can't even have your own animals if you know, like you can
Yeah,
have like three chickens as a pet, as pets, like three chickens packs in most places. And some
right.
places don't even let you have any.
Dude, it's so important, man. I mean, it's such a skill that is needed, but it's almost like you've got to like unplug from the system that you were like groomed into, to kind of understand the benefits of those things that, you
Yeah.
just mentioned. Like you've got to understand the benefits. It is it is I mean, it can come down to life and death, man. Like I mean, we live on a grid, and if that grid, even if just a part of that grid goes down, it's going to destabilize other parts of those grids. Then that's naturally going to go, turn by turn, and certain other things are going to start to collapse, and it's good to have that prepper mindset. And it's like we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we all got to take care of ourselves. Like we shouldn't be dependable on so many other things. We should depend on ourselves. We should depend on learning, and a lot of people get impatient with learning. But got to just take some discipline and learn it, and just understand that it's Super important. Super important. We should do another. We should do like a prep podcast or something. Some underground episode or something. I think it'd
I'm
be cool.
in.
Yeah, no doubt.
We could do a whole series.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Talk about different, just different prep stuff. It's so good, man. It's so good. So beneficial, man. It's and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it, but it was my interest that pushed me forward to learning and start to pick up certain things. And it's just good stuff. Good stuff to do. But I had fun, man, talking about this stuff with you. It's cool. Some other people heard about it.
Yeah, it's so you actually one last thing when you were talking
Yeah.
about the Rockefeller Group, right, with the
Yes.
IDE-10.
Mm-hmm.
So months ago, when we were looking at things related to the vaccine and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know if you remember that link. I think it was you that sent it to me. The guy he did the research about the graphene that is
Oh yeah. So
supposedly in
yeah,
the vaccine.
yeah.
Well, so I started looking up the Rockefeller Group and they have, is it Rockefeller University? No, they have like
Uh,
an
I
educational,
oh, it's
like their foundations, um,
yes. I know
like
exactly what you're
research
talking about.
something
Yeah.
or other. I can't remember the name of it, but like there are several articles based on graphene and the ability to use sound to cause the graphene to react a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and that the certain frequencies can cause uh, emotional responses.
So this was an
And
actual real thing. This was a test
yes,
I believe that were done. Don't quote me, but I think it was either in the 90s or something like that, to where they were actually emitting um, EMF
no, this
waves.
this
Right? Is
this
this?
was more recent. This was
Oh,
more
this is more
recent.
recent. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I
There's
know.
like there was 3 or 4 different articles,
Yeah.
but so they injected graphene into, I want to say it was mice or rabbits. It was a rodent or of some sort,
Oh, okay.
right?
Shit.
Um, but it was something like that. They injected that into him. They then hit him with a certain frequency sound, and essentially it was mind control kind of deal because they
Mm-hmm.
were able to elicit a desired reaction from the rodent by using sound and graphene injections.
All right. Do you want me to blow your mind right now? Kind of. I have a video here, and I'm gonna share it with you. I got a screen share with you here. This is
Is
gonna
that the
probably
same one
this.
that we
This
watched
is
before, or a
this
different
is
one?
this is a kids cartoon on Netflix right now. Okay, and this is predictive programming. This is to me this is a video stream that is gonna put everything that we talked about today together in a way.
Okay, it's a
I,
good way to finish the
yeah, I don't know if you've seen it
stream then.
before, but it's
Okay.
kind of nuts, and we're gonna play it here real quick. So let me share my screen.
You said this is on Netflix already?
This is a cartoon from Netflix. Yes. Let me make
The
sure.
one called?
So let me see here. Okay. Oh gosh, do you see it?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
see it. Make it big.
Okay. Let me see if
Make
I
it full
can.
screen.
All right, let me see here. Hold on. I want to see. I want to make sure we get the. So let me check the stream out real quick.
What's that called?
All right, perfect.
By the sudden rollout of Rook
Can you hear it?
Unlimited's most fantastic device ever,
Yeah.
the Smart Mark. Throw your other devices away, because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash. Book your travel.
God,
And
I hate
even
this.
shoot video.
So
Distribution
there's so
points
many
are
cool
all
things
over the
about
city.
this,
I know.
And don't let the lines discourage you. The Rook
like about
Unlimited
the
Smart
idea
Mark is
that, but
worth
it's
the
in there.
wait.
But um,
I
this
never
reminds
realized how
me.
wonderful technology could make me feel.
The
of that
smart
quote
mark has
from
brought
Hitler.
order to my life. And the best
What was
part?
that? What
It's
quote?
absolutely
Oh,
I'm going to paraphrase because I don't have it right in front of me. But essentially, Hitler says, um,
oh, what the heck?
essentially, he goes, "I don't care that I don't have you, because I already have your children.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I
So it
remember that
doesn't
quote.
matter that we fight against this, that we don't want this, that we don't care. These cartoons, this bullshit is going to
free.
have,
A gift of thanks to our city from Rook
they will
Unlimited.
have our kids, and
Right,
they
right,
don't, so they don't need us. We can be phased out. That's why all the old people were killed by COVID, because they're phasing out all the old people.
right. I know it. Here, I can't. I gotta play this out of screen here. I don't know why it won't pick it up. It's weird. Um, but watch. So what you said at the end of this podcast is incredible because you're gonna see what you just spoke is like prophetic in a way. If this is to come true, we don't know. That's why it's
Mhm.
still prophecy.
23% of the population has been given the smart mark, number 1.
Time to test our system, number 6. The Flex Fighters are out there somewhere. Teaming up with Jonathan Rook. Let's put our new recruits to work. Subtly.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
I ought to find the Flex Fighters.
We should find the Flex Fighters.
Yeah. Here's your task. Go find the Flex Fighters.
Yeah,
Give me
right.
some Ripple. Found them all. Give me
But
Ripple.
it made me right.
God damn it. I hate being right all the time.
Bro, but it made me think you were like you're talking about graphene and the control, the mind control. Like it's possible. I mean, we know that MK Ultra is real and that they were doing it with psychedelic drugs and acid and things like that. But what if there's other types of
And-
technologies that
and
can
just
do the
think.
same thing?
So just think, what if so graphene is carbon too, right? But
Mhm.
it can be formed into a whole bunch of,
Holy
like, the chips that the Bitcoin chips or whatever. What if they are
It's graphene.
graphene based,
Yeah.
right?
So
they're graphene based,
I couldn't find much
and
of it.
right. Well,
Go.
they're not going to put all that stuff out there
Yeah.
because they don't want
Right.
that's proprietary, right? So it's graphene based. We have in our pockets a device that emits sound waves. Like, we carry it with us at all times.
Bro, what's that movie, Cellular or something? Where like
Maybe I don't know. I didn't.
it's I think I forget the actor, but it is something funny about that. But
Yeah.
honestly, we could be talking about something that kind of like we go, holy shit! Remember we said that 10 years ago? It could be something that like is
And it's online now,
it's
so it'll be
yeah.
saved for posterity.
Yeah.
We'll be like, shit, we were right.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, brother.
Oh man, this was fun though. This was good.
Yes, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, we appreciate everyone for tuning in. We're gonna close it out. This was a good underground podcast. I had a lot of fun. Talked about a
Yeah.
lot of different good things. Just a little recap: Bill Gates, possible mark of the beast system, all kinds of other stuff. Klaus Schwab, Great Reset. Go back, check it out.
He's
Feel
trying to
free-
change everything.
Yeah.
He's
Feel
trying
free
to take it
to
all.
feel free to give us a follow on our socials. You can find us anywhere at Doe Wise Men. We appreciate
Send us
everyone
emails.
tuning in. Yeah, send us emails, questions, comments, concerns, any other topics you think we should talk about. Feel free. But everyone have a good night. Appreciate it. See ya.